So 28 wins is better than 22 wins, right?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome back to Locked On Spurs right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I am your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kings 5 San Antonio. Glad to have y'all back and hope you're having a great day. And as always, we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first and only spot for all things San Antonio Spurs. You want to check us out over on YouTube, the Kings 5 Plus app. What else you got there? You got Spotify, you got iTunes. Seriously, pick a platform. We are there. Locked On Spurs newsletter. It's in the description below if you're watching on the YouTube side of things. Big old link there. It says LO Spurs newsletter. You want to click on that. It is completely free. Hit your email inbox every single day. Well worth a nice little companion piece to Locked On Spurs. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNBA. Get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. What are we talking about today? So I said in the little intro, right? As of right now, the Spurs have 28 wins versus 22 wins last year. They technically surpassed their win total from last year. It is more wins than it was just last season. So technically, are we looking at a successful season when it's all said and done? We're going to be discussing that. Why and why not? And then looking at tonight's game, Spurs and Knicks, the final meeting between these two teams. Them Knicks, they're playing a little better. No Brunson, but we're going to get into all that shortly with our guest. Let's go ahead and bring him on. He is my colleague at Kens 5 San Antonio, Mr. Casey Vieira. Casey, welcome back, buddy.
Good talking to you, my friend. And
perfect timing, too, with the whole Knicks in town,
Yeah, it will be good. I'm excited.
Yeah, I know. But you got some playoff hopes there, man. Well,
really comes down to the ankles of Mr. Brunson over there. If I could sacrifice mine, I would. But...
I bet you would. All right. Make sure to follow Casey on X at Casey_Vieira. Again, he is the weekend sports anchor over at Kens 5 San Antonio. And he'll tell you all about that and more. I know he has a busy slate. These Spurs, you got NCAA, something called the March Madness thing. Yeah, he's busy, but he'll tell you all about that in just a few minutes. But Casey, last season sucked. 22 wins, grand total when it was all said and done. Spurs fans like, woo, can't wait for next season. Next season, we're going to be better. Wemby and we brought to this kid named Castle. And who knows if they'll make a trade. And, Devin and Keldon, the whole crew basically was coming back. Better and bigger and better and everything, all that good stuff. And then the wheels start slowly coming off. Popovich's health issue. Wemby gets shut down for the season. De'Aaron Fox gets set down for the season. But all in all, Casey, as of this recording, there's 28 wins. By definition, that's an improved season, right?
Oh, absolutely. And go ahead, finish your thought. Yeah.
No, I was going to say, is this by definition an improved season? I mean, shouldn't we be, yay, steps forward? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Has the last third of the season been a little bit disappointing? Also, absolutely. But think about going into the year, what was trying to be kind of the goal was be competitive, be a team that would be relevant come the play-in time, make the roster better, and see growth in a lot of the guys or a reasonable amount of guys on this team. And for the most part, you saw most of that. Maybe the latter part, you kind of crossed that one, or that's yet to be crossed off the list, if you will. But if you consider that you wanted to if you want to trade that idea for, hey, we have the likely rookie of the year, okay, I think you'd take that, right? Mm-hmm. So I, as a whole, think the year was more of a success that had very much a disappointing finish. But you think about what the finish was, though. Because Victor has I don't want to say fluke, but a tremendously rare medical condition come about that really alters things. And for me, I'm more. I look at this season as a little bit more of optimism, because I'm one of those guys who's super doom and gloom about conditions that I hear the word like blood thinner thrown around and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit, I don't want to say pessimistic because of the subject matter, but the whole Victor part of it, I'm a little bit, you know, cringing about everything. But that's he's neither here nor there. We're not talking about that. I think collectively as a whole, the season is a success. Certainly more good came out of the year from bad. Let it out.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll give you some of the cons why I don't think it's a success in just a few minutes. But just to, I guess, start off the show with the glasses half full vibes here. Another positive thing is, okay, sure, maybe they're not ending the season on the right note, but there is that everybody's looking at draft lottery positioning. I know the Spurs are probably not going to vault to number 1, number 2, or number 3, but hey, they can increase their chances to get a little higher, maybe flip that. Moving forward at the draft or the off season, go for it. Or if they don't, they bring in a nice young kid that can mesh in well with this rebuild. I think that is another silver lining to this season, despite the minimal wins they've had so far. Another reason why I agree with you, why it's successful, is because sure, the Spurs are still in the rebuild, but it feels like they're taking steps towards getting out of that tunnel and into the light. Castle's been a revelation, so he's helping them push forward through the rebuild. Wemby, pre-injury, was definitely looking like the Wemby that we all know and love. DPOI was all but his. He likely was going to make All NBA first team, all that good stuff. So there's that. Keldon Johnson, that's another thing another player that I don't think is getting a lot of love right now, because what he's been doing off the bench is just pretty good. I mean, consider this, Casey. Pre-Wemby, technically KJ was the kind of the face of the team. He was. And then he goes from
probably.
Yeah. He goes from that to pairing with Wemby, taking, a step back in that limelight. Then now coming off the bench and still being very productive, to wrap up the season. I think that's been good. So who knows, because Casey, we talk about this. Sure, they have a big 3 likely with Fox, Castle, Wemby. But maybe it's kind of a big 3.5, because if you have your foundational pieces, maybe you have your foundational 6-man. So perhaps he solidified that role in the rebuild. So there is a lot of positives as well. Obviously, the big positive, and I think this is huge, is acquiring, the Robin and the Batman combo of Wemby and De'Aaron Fox. That is huge. If I think back at this season, to me, I think that is the biggest sign of improvement and success, because they swung for the fences, they made a trade, and they bring in an all-star guard, something they desperately needed. Casey, your thoughts?
Yeah, I didn't even get into that part of it. Yeah, I agree entirely. That's the biggest prize, is that everyone for so long was like, do something. We have
that meme, right, with the guy with the slick. I remember, like, do something.
I was just gonna say it's exactly that. I mean, they had the guy with the stick poking at Brian Wright's head. Just do something, do anything. And they did something. And they did something very well. And just that alone would be probably, I don't want to say that alone, but we'll say that alone plus Victor's development, I think certainly would have made the season a success anyways. But then you factor in Castle, you factor in, if you want to look at it as a positive, you at least have a view of what the coaching successor could or could not be, because how long have we heard, when someone's here for Pop, who's it going to be? And still that's about, but you at least have a general idea, a candidate, and that's for better or worse. That's something that we haven't known. Of course, the circumstances haven't been great as to why it happened, but that's certainly something, a positive, if you will. Even if he's not here, Mitch Johnson next season as the head coach, I'm feeling good collectively as a whole on this, because you're looking at probably a 8 to 10 win improvement. Wemby has stepped into the top 7 player in the league category. I think we all expected him to jump into top 10, but top 6, top 7, I'm not sure a lot of people expected that.
No.
You're just hoping that he stays healthy going forward, of course. But I feel as a whole, I feel pretty good.
Yeah, and overall, sure, maybe the wins were not, in the 40s or above, but pre-Wemby injury, this team for a good chunk of the start of the season was one of the best starting fives. Remember that? It was like him, it was Wemby, Castle, Barnes, Paul, and Vassell, and I think it was Vassell, yeah. But the point is, like, they had one of the better starting fives. You lose Wemby, obviously your defensive numbers are going to drop. But again, pre-Wemby, the Spurs defense was one of the better ones in the season. Another reason to smile too is that the second unit is potent, even as of this recording. More often than not, look at that box score, and they're outscoring that second unit of the opposing team. So that they had to have bench depth led by Keldon, and at least for a little while, it was with Keldon with Stephon Castle, but now he's into the starting lineup with the Fox injury. But all in all, there are things to point to. Yes, this season was a success if you break it down under a microscope and look at the things that Casey and I have looked at. But what should I say? What are the reasons why it's not a success? I'm going to try to find a few things why you look back at the season. You know what? These 30 or whatever they finished with 31 wins. Yeah, maybe it wasn't all that. We're going to be discussing that and more with Casey Vieira. Be sure to follow him on X at Casey_Vieira. You want to do that right now. But first, I want to talk about Prize Picks.
Basketball season is heating up, and there's no better way to get real money action while watching your favorite NBA stars than with Prize Picks. Whether you're a diehard fan or just love some friendly competition, Prize Picks makes it easy and fun to turn your basketball knowledge into cash. Here's how it works. Pick more or less on at least two players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Think LeBron's going to drop 30? You think Wemby's going to grab 20 rebounds? Or maybe Luka Doncic is going to get more than 8 assists? Prize Picks lets you make your predictions and put your money where your mouth is in just 60 seconds. Look, you got to use Prize Picks all season long. You'll have a blast. You'll be able to pick players, like from Wembanyama to Devin Vassell to Jeremy Sohan. Pick a player on your favorite Spurs team, and yeah, you'll have some fun with it with using Prize Picks. It's the kind of action that I'm talking about. And with Prize Picks Flex Pay option, even if one of your picks don't hit, well, you can still double your money. Plus, once you hit, you get money fast, sometimes in quick as 15 minutes. And honestly, the best way to keep up with the exciting game of NBA. Now is the perfect time to join. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. No need to win to get the bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. When it comes to grocery shopping and meal planning, I've had this ongoing problem. I just don't have time. Between work, life, and trying to eat healthier, I was constantly feeling stressed out and go to the grocery store, buy things I didn't need, then end up with no time to actually cook. And sticking to my health goals, that was a struggle too. But everything has changed when I discovered Hungry Root. Honestly, it's been a game changer. It's the easiest way to eat healthy without all the stress. With Hungry Root, it's like having a personal shopper and nutritionist all in one. They take care of my grocery shopping, recommending meals, groceries based on my taste, health goals, from anti-inflammatory to high-protein, gluten-free options. And the best part, every meal is ready within 15 minutes or less. I'm talking quick, healthy meals that actually taste great, all delivered straight to my door. It's been a huge time saver and has made healthy eating so much simpler. You're going to love Hungry Root as much as I do. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box and a free item in every box for life. Just go to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Use code LockedOnNBA. That's hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Code LockedOnNBA to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Code LockedOnNBA. Do not miss out.
I am Megatron. Do not fail me and subscribe to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Casey Vieira. Make sure to follow him on X at Casey_Vieira. He's the weekend anchor for Ken's 5 TV. He'll tell you all about that and more in just a little bit. And we're talking about the Spurs with the season winding down and the Spurs technically having more wins than they did last season. Is this a success or not? Now, we looked at some of the reasons why it's a success, but now also get some reasons why it's not a success. And Casey, I'll start off right here by saying, even with Wemby, right before he got shelved, you started seeing the defense slip. They weren't being that defensive team again, even with Wemby and even with Steph Castle, that combo. Collectively, not individually. We know they got great individual defenders, but as a team, their defense started to slip. Offense is not a problem for this team. There's no doubt about that. They can light it up, but defensively, just have not been. I just really haven't been happy with that. Up until this point / this recording, Casey, that to me, that's a huge concern. And why I look back and I started looking back at this season, saying, what, maybe it was a success because they didn't even improve on both ends of the court. It was just like one and done. Offense, yay, but defense, all right. Fill in the blank NBA team, Charlotte Hornets, way to score 145 and make all your 3-point shots for an entire 48 minutes. Seriously, Casey, to me, defense has just been one of the most disappointing things this season.
From the Victor side of things, I think it did expose, and you wonder how much of it was the medical condition.
Right.
I think it did expose that there is a physicality element that's still lacking, because a lot towards that stretch, like you said, a lot of the time Victor was looking really gassed, looking really worn out. Another part of that is that there really wasn't a consistent backup big on that bench that Mitch Johnson was really comfortable getting an extended amount of time to, or healthy. Zach Collins was not that guy. Charles Gaffey couldn't stay healthy. Bismack Biyombo is certainly
undersized.
Undersized and won't be on the team next year, presumably. So I think part of that speaks to the roster construction and a bit of an indictment on that. I think part of it was Victor showing a little bit that there is a physicality part. Again, assuming that the health was not a factor. If it was a factor, then I think that's a totally different story, which it could have been. But most recently, giving up a $145 to the Hornets or whatever it was the other day, that type of thing, you're right. That type of thing is
that's like acceptable.
Yeah, it's inexcusable. A Hornets team that is going to be bottom 3 in the NBA, bottom 5 in the league, and they just walked through the frost the other day. That type of thing's not good. And on that front, you worry a little bit. And I'm sure management's worried on top of that too. Because another thing with it is it speaks to what they have right now, and again, maybe a regression of some of the guys on the defensive side that they do have going forward. So I'm with you on that. Yeah, I definitely think the defense going forward is something that's going to need to be addressed in the offseason without a doubt.
Yeah, and this is why I don't think it's like a complete success. Is the bar was set low. It's super low.
Right.
22 wins last season. Just pitiful play. They went. Remember last season where they went through that 10+ losing skid? I mean, it was just bad.
19, was it 19?
Something like that. 18, 19. Yeah. Okay, fine. Spurs didn't have that this season, but nevertheless, the bar was just set so low. So in my opinion, it didn't take much to really leap, like take a tremendous leap. I was kind of predicting around this time that the Spurs were already being the 30-win mark, and they're not. They're not.
Well, I mean, so it thought they were going to have 30 wins. They're only 2 off 30.
Yeah,
they're 2 off 30, and Victor hasn't played in a month.
And we'll get into this in a bit. I know they got the Knicks coming up tonight, but this team I can even see them struggle to get to 30. I definitely could see that. Like, oh, you're right there. Oh, okay, yeah, you got the Hornets tonight. Yeah, okay, well, you got smoked. Oh, you got the Knicks. Darn it. Oh, by the way, now you got to go on the road and go play the Warriors. Hey, oh, by the way, Spurs, you're not done with the Cavs. Yes, right. You haven't played them yet. Here's 2 games against them. So,
Right.
that's where I think they might struggle. But do I think they'll get over 30? Yeah, I think this team has, I hope, about 4 or 5 more wins on them. But it makes it another, and this is why I'm bringing this up, is because it makes another disappointing season for me. It's just, I don't know what Spurs team this is. Am I going to get the team that just lays over and dies and plays against when they play against the Hornets, or they get smoked versus the Lakers? Or am I going to get the team that, oh, what did this team come from? They just took down the Bucks. They just took down, one of the top teams in the NBA. Yeah, because this team is so Jekyll and Hyde. In other words, right? It's just no. I don't even. Do they even have an identity? Have they even established that? That's why I think this team, on this segment, has not been a success, because they just feel like a bunch of guys out there. Like, what are we doing? That's what it feels like sometimes, Casey.
Yeah. I mean, if your expectation, you said the identity of this team, I do think the identity has changed for the better. And I think coming into the start of the year, you looked at it as Victor and a bunch of other guys.
Yeah.
Majority of the guys on the roster that probably won't even be on the team in a couple of years. I think now at the end of the year, health aside, you look at it and you're saying this roster, you said it's Victor, it's Stephon Castle, it's De'Aaron Fox. And that's our big 3 going forward. And we like everything else we like what we do have, and everything else along the way might be slightly interchangeable. And from that lens, I think that is a little bit more of an identity that we do know. So you can call it, I think, an identity crisis, so to speak. But I feel like what we're seeing right now is what we do know what they are, what they've been, because with the exception of Stephon Castle, this team has been a low 20-win team. And over the past month, what have they played like? A team that's not going to crack 30 wins.
Yeah.
So I'm not as stuck. I'm not as I guess concerned and totally about as to what they are, because I feel like we already know. We've seen it. We had 3-4 years of it, and honestly, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised, because what do you expect? You're down your 2 best players. One of them top 10 player in the league. The other all-star caliber starting point. I'm not surprised. I'm not.
Yeah.
You hope for a little bit more effort at times, much like the Hornets game. But from the win-loss perspective, no, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I am a little surprised. I am, because I really believe that, with Wemby was enough to get you. I mean, maybe he was. I mean, who knows? Maybe this is a whole different conversation if he's still playing right now. But to get you at this point of the season, at least mid-30s, high 30 wins, I really thought around this time they'd be knocking on the play-in door. But you're right. You lose Wemby, you lose Fox. Wemby was already struggling before they shelved him. So things were just lining up. At the Popovich situation, I think that threw the team kind of way off. It was just a shock to the system. And then, the reason why I think, if we could point to another reason why it's been a bad season is, look, I'm not knocking Mitch Johnson. He was just thrown to the fire. Nobody saw this coming with Pop having a stroke. But once he got his feet wet and got settled in, how many times were we screaming, what are you doing? Swap out Paul and put in Castle. And he never did. I think maybe if he did that earlier, maybe we're already at 30 at this point, or maybe at 31. I don't know. I think, what do you think about that? Do you think he had inserted Castle earlier in the starting unit? Do you think Castle's enough to get you at least 2 more wins on the season? Do you think maybe we're looking at 30 right now?
Yeah, I do. And I think it goes beyond Castle a little bit. I think there were times this season where the rotations, late game rotations, it cost them. It cost them games.
Yeah.
I think the Minnesota game. What was it? Maybe January, where they had the free throws. Wemby split the pair, but they got the ball back, and then
Yeah.
it ultimately led to a Sohan 3 at the buzzer. An example, it's like one of those things where what is Sohan even when you're down 3? What is Sohan even doing on the floor at that point? Right? No. Why it's even? And if I'm not mistaken, I think Champagny was a shooter was on the bench.
Yeah.
Maybe Champagny, one of them. But the big story there is what is Sohan doing on the floor when you need a 3 out of a timeout, and not to say that they were going to hit whoever it was going to hit that shot and the game was going to go to overtime, but at least it certainly gives you a better chance and spaces up the floor a little bit.
Yeah.
I think examples like that, yeah, they did cost them. That's the one that immediately comes to mind. But yeah, there have been more of that for sure.
Absolutely. Now, all in all, like, will the Spurs get over 30? I think they will. There's a combination of things going on too. Just by numbers, they'll get wins. Well, they got like 15 games, including tonight's game versus the Knicks. You're going to see some of those power teams they still have on their schedule. Maybe rest some guys early. I think Cavs. Who knows? Or even let's use Boston. Boston's at the end of the month. They wrap up their playoff positioning, whatever. Okay, Brown and Tatum. Play a half and you're good, and maybe that opens the door. But even then, Casey, I don't trust this team. Team. Even if you sit down your power players, who knows if this team's going to win. So that is just so Jekyll and Hyde, this team. But hey, but look, everybody, we looked at both sides of the glass. We looked at the half full side to start the show, and now we're looking at the half empty side here. But we got to hear from you. What do you think? Do you think the Spurs, when it's all said and done, would have technically a successful season? You can let us know by following us here at Locked On Spurs on the YouTube page at Locked On Spurs, and letting Casey know your thoughts on his X page at Casey_Vieira. And talk about perfect timing too, because Casey, he's a big Knicks fan, so we're going to preview tonight's Spurs-Knicks game. Right here, Locked On Spurs. That's coming up next. Maybe they get a win tonight. I don't know. Casey might be torn tonight. Like, what do I do? What do I do? All right, but we're getting to all that. Let's talk about Robinhood.
With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up today at Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
All systems have been alerted to your presence. You must subscribe to Locked On Spurs immediately.
We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Casey Vieira, my colleague at Kens5 TV. Make sure to follow him on X at Casey_Vieira. I might see Casey wearing a half Knicks, half Spurs jersey tonight. Maybe.
Sure, why not?
Sure. If you had to do that, what number would you want representing your Knicks fandom from the Knicks side and the Spurs number on the Spurs side?
Oh, I'd have to think about that. I guess probably 11 would be the most logistical one, considering Brunson is 11 and Victor is 1.
There you go.
Off immediate thought. I think I would probably go with that.
All right. I am an adopted New Yorker myself. I spent nearly 20 years there in the Big Apple. I think I would go with this one's good. This one's good. I would go with the 5 for the Spurs side to represent the Admiral. And then the Knicks side. What was Allen Houston's number?
He was 20.
Put it
Ironically enough, there you go, 50.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. See how it all comes together there. All right. Well, as you hear right now, we got Spurs and Knicks tonight in San Antonio, the final meeting between these two teams. Your Knicks are playing record-wise good ball, 43-24. But Casey, the blue and orange there, man, they're kind of stumbling of late, aren't they?
It really just comes down to whether Brunson is back, right?
Yep.
It really comes back down to whether he's back in time for the playoffs, because they're kind of stuck where they are in the standings. And if you're looking for a positive out of it, if when you're down your guy, you're worried about losing games in the standings, and they probably weren't going to catch the Celtics anyways. And they have a sizable lead over the Milwaukee Pacers, Detroit logjam that makes up the 4 through 6 seeds. I believe as of this recording, it's 5 games currently over Milwaukee, plus they have the tiebreaker, so make it 6 games with about 16 left. So they're in a reasonable spot, but it's all just comes down to the ankles of Brunson. Singular, I hope it's not ankles. Singular ankle of Brunson, and whether he's there, and then probably the difference of them getting out of the first round and the difference of them getting the chance to play Cleveland or Boston. And what happens there, I know the records haven't indicated that it's going to be particularly pretty, because they haven't beaten Cleveland or Boston this season. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, and for the Knicks too, I mean, what do you think? Do you think they can make some noise in the postseason? I mean, because you mentioned some pretty big teams there, not big inside, but just, power-wise with Cavs and, Boston, and who was a good team out there?
Milwaukee,
thank you. That's kind of a gauntlet, right?
Well, you figure one of them probably won't be there, in all likelihood Milwaukee, because they're going to be facing Cleveland.
Yeah.
If the playoffs started today, they're going to be facing Indy, I think, if the playoffs started today, and Cleveland would be facing somewhere in the bottom, Miami, one of Orlando, Atlanta, one of those teams. So you're looking at the second round of Cleveland and Milwaukee. One of those guys going to knock each other out right there. And Milwaukee, they, if I'm not mistaken, we talk about the Knicks struggles against the good teams. Milwaukee, they have yet to beat Cleveland, Boston, or the Knicks.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go. So right now, chalk would suggest, I know going chalk is always the easy way out, but the data overwhelmingly suggests that chalk is going to play out this way. Kind of hard to go against it, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, your Knicks are definitely on the other side of the spectrum when it comes to the Spurs. Got playoff dreams about to become reality in a few weeks, and hopefully they'll have a big push. Look, if the Spurs get bounced, and they likely are, and they're not going to make the play-in, everybody I know, because technically by the numbers, they're still in the play-in run, but I think at the end of the day, that's not going to happen. But barring that miracle happen, I'm pulling for the Knicks, because, again, that's my adopted home. Home. I look back, I go, 20 years in New York, man, it flew by.
We spent 20 years. Yeah, we met. You were still in New York. How many years have you been in San Antonio? This is what, your 3rd year back?
Second.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, 2.5 maybe, because I came about 2.5 then. Yeah, because I came down here. Yeah, that's about right. Yeah. But 20 years, yeah, I can still feel MSG. I can still hear it. I can smell it, I can still I know where to go to find the bathrooms in MSG and those wild escalators. So
What's funny? A couple weeks ago, I was in Miami and I went to Knicks Heat in Miami.
Mhm.
And the Knicks base has been traveling remarkably well this year. They're always there in Miami. And my wife, we were sitting there at the game, and the Knicks and the Heat are a little bit rival. They've had history. They've had a storied history. They're rivals. But we were just thinking the intensity of that game, and maybe it was the clashing fan bases and just New Yorkers being just so intense with everything. And I was thinking about that comparatively speaking to the close games that happened here in San Antonio. It's like night and day. It was night. It was night, and I don't say that in a negative sense. San Antonio things aren't going the right way. Fans are losing. They're like, whatever. We're just gonna chill. We're gonna kick it. New York fans. Funny story. So I was sitting behind the basket. Not caddy corner, Knicks bench to my immediate left.
Yeah.
And there was a one section of Knicks fans that was in between us. It was definitely the most Knicks heavy portion of the arena. And then they were down by 19 at half, or at least in the third quarter. They were down by 19, at least in the second half, came back, forced overtime. So they're going on this run. Brunson's going off. Expectedly, that side of the crowd's getting louder. The Let's Go Knicks chants getting louder, all that. So the Miami security, I didn't see them kick anyone out. But it was kind of like, the kids in lunch when they're acting out and the lunchroom's getting a little too rowdy, and then you see that side of the student, the teachers, the teacher monitors, they don't get anybody in trouble, but they just kind of stand there and restore order and restore their presence to be like, all right, chill out. That's pretty much what the Heat personnel were doing. It suddenly there was a lot more as things got rowdier. There were more and more, I guess, people in black security outfits standing there. And then even funnier on top of that, they brought right next to them, standing in the aisles, and this group, they deserved to win Employee of the Year. It was like the Heat hype squad trying to jack up. You get the Heat fans all jacked up back into it. So it didn't work.
It didn't work.
Yeah. But it was just hilarious.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
I remember going to plenty of games in MSG, man. Just those Knicks fans are something else, man. They're something else. Not as bad as
animal that place.
Yeah, they're different. But you know who was a very like a different animal, but on another level? Back when the Nets were in New Jersey, when they were in New Jersey Nets, Nets were rowdy, just rowdy. I remember going to a few games there. And
seeing the Airlines Arena over there.
Yep. Wow, I saw Hall & Oates there too. Oh,
did you?
Yeah, I saw Hall & Oates there. But anyway, I remember seeing a fights break out. Just like it was like, oh, we have the T-shirt cannon and prize giveaway, and of course we have our daily fight now. It was like that. So, but those Northeast fans, they are very passionate about their sport. As Knicks fans, as Eagles fans, as Boston fans. Trust me, they are. But circling back to the game here, for the Knicks, let's look at some of the numbers here again. As of this recording, 43-24, sitting in third overall in the East. A couple of things to note. They are fouling a lot of late, 4 straight games with more fouls than their opponent. And see what else we got here. They are out rebounding their opponents in the last 2 games, something that's really hampering the Spurs of late, just getting clubbed on the boards there. So keep that in mind, San Antonio Spurs fan, as you're watching tonight's game. And look at some of the other stats here for KC's Knicks. What else we got? Oh, yeah. Keep an eye on the scoreboard, everybody. If the Knicks are leading after the third quarter on the road, They're 14-3. So they don't let go of leads when they're away from the Big Apple. All right, for the Spurs side of things, again, you just want development. I just want to see this team just put up a little bit of a fight. Can I get that? Can I get a little bit of fight tonight, Casey? From this team's a little pushback. No more just getting slaughtered, as we saw a couple nights ago against the Lakers. This is just bad. I just want to see, look, if they lose Spurs, great. But don't go down with a fight, man.
Yeah.
That's all I want to see. And too bad Victor's not playing, because remember when Victor made his MSG debut, the Knicks fans are chanting overrated.
He got his receipt this Christmas.
Oh yeah, he definitely did. And usually Spurs Knicks games are fun. They're competitive.
Last year was Brunson scored 60 and Victor went 40-20. Game went to overtime.
Isn't that the game where Victor threw the ball in the stands?
And that was the game. Yeah, Victor threw the ball in the stands. Though that said, I'm not sure if you lose the game. People are like, oh, he threw Brunson's career high game ball into the stands. If I lost the game, I wouldn't want that ball anyways.
Yeah,
that's just me though.
Did Brunson get it though?
I don't know.
I thought they found the ball. I don't remember that.
I can't speak to that. I'm not sure. Yeah. But either way, it was a fantastic game.
Casey, you be rocking your Knicks colors tonight.
I'll be rocking that jersey that you told me to make.
There you go. You know what? I think that's like kind of like a little niche thing that some jersey company should make. Like you go online and it just say you split allegiances, like Knicks Spurs, hey, custom your dual Spurs Knicks jersey, and we'll custom make it for you and send it off to you. That'd be kind of cool.
I think there'd be a market for that. I feel like the only time you see that is when you have two brothers who are in the lead and mom's independent, and mom just wants everyone to have fun, so she wears the jersey.
Yeah, I love my children equally.
Yeah.
I love them equally. But again, Spurs Knicks tonight. Hopefully the Spurs can get a W, because the more W's, the better. I don't know. I think there's camp lose them all. Draft picks, all that good stuff. But we'll tackle that when the offseason gets here. Hey, we're up against it, but I want to thank Casey for hopping on this episode of Locked On Spurs. Follow him on X at Casey_Vieira. He is the weekend sports anchor over at Kens 5 TV. We'll be back tomorrow talking all things San Antonio Spurs as the season continues. Follow us on Spotify, Kens 5 Plus app. You know where to find us, as well as the Locked On Spurs YouTube page. So for Casey Vieira, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.